Good evening and welcome to our next iServe webinar, coming to you live from a very sunny Milton Keynes. The title of the webinar is Have You Got the Energy to Reduce Your Company's Utility Consumption? It will be presented by our energy management expert, Michelle Giles. Not housekeeping. Please note that during the webinar we will be using audio broadcast. The box in the right-hand corner will need to remain open throughout. To ask a question, click on the question mark in the top right-hand corner and open the Q&A box. If you experience technical difficulties, please email marketing@imserve.com or speak to us directly through the chat bar. The agenda for today is a 20-minute 10-step plan, 30 minutes demonstration of VDV, and 10 minutes of questions at the end. Over to you, Michelle.
I want to start with a blank piece of paper. A new commercial office or your own grand design. No limitations, highly insulated, fully automated, carbon friendly with renewables. Not an inch of wasted energy. Every drop used to its full potential. But the realism is that we inherit buildings which may not have been designed with energy in mind, that are fully operational and have all the bad habits of energy wastage. You have an unlimited budget and you will need to spend your time and effort wisely in order to deliver the greatest value, being the most reduction for the least cost. As energy manager that is responsible for energy reduction, where do you start? We have shared with our customers numerous hurdles that energy managers have had to overcome in order to achieve their energy saving objectives. The following presentation will go through 10 steps that will help energy managers achieve the best results with the resources available. 80% of the UK's building stock was built before the 1980s and may not inherit many energy efficient buildings. Before investigating renewable energy or efficient technologies, determine baseload and wastage. By a profile of what your site would look like without wastage, you will need to determine your various loads. Your minimum baseload will be the energy consumption that is always being used, such as security lighting and IT infrastructure. Baseload is when you are using no energy for heating and cooling, that perfect spring or autumn day. All energy should be business related. Operational baseload is adding up all the mandatory energy usage requirements for running the business at the times the business required. Understand how consumption differs from this profile will highlight wastage and the potential savings that you can make prior to investing in equipment upgrades. You always need capital spend to achieve savings, but it will be difficult without as you move forward. You need help from others. Buckets are like cash machines and employees can use them at any time. You will need buy-in not only of employees but stakeholders who will support achieving your targets. You will have to motivate others. Even energy spend is typically the top 3 of a company's costs and not always on people's everyday agendas. And think out of the box. Energy management is not just about negotiating new tariffs. There is so much that can be done. You should be wondering more what you won't have time for. Be clear what your company's strategy is and your own objectives. There is no point becoming carbon neutral if the running costs are greater than you are currently spending, unless your brand depends on it. You can save money by changing your tariff, but you may not have reduced your consumption. You replace your boiler with a more efficient coal fuel option. If you have a green brand, it might not convey the right message. Money will nearly always be a key driver, but understanding the priority and weighting between them will be key. With much to be done, you need to be clear what is in scope. An additional building will halve the time you can spend on the first. What can you do if you have hundreds of sites to manage? There is often an urge to implement big, tangible energy solutions. People talk about implementing renewables, but with payback of 10 to 20 years, it's not attractive. Plus, you haven't removed all unnecessary waste prior to your implementation than necessary, solutions creating an even longer period. So what is your scope? Your whole portfolio across multiple countries and include all utility types? Be clear to understand scope and stick to it. You understand your company's energy strategy and your own objectives. What do you first? Saving a small percentage on the most wasteful sites will deliver more savings than a large percentage on an efficient site of equal spend size. Bigger sites will have higher spend, but can be more difficult to achieve change through larger investment required or more stakeholder buy-in needed. By having data to order sites, you can determine your biggest energy using sites, biggest energy using sites by floor area and type of business, or even order the sites with the biggest increase in energy spend compared to previous years. Use your baseload profiles to determine who deviates most from these profiles, as these could be the most wasteful. Be to set expectations after you've seen the data. From 20% reduction on all sites within 6 months could lead to a stressful 6 months and undelivered objectives. As expectation setting, it's clear to understand constraints. Upfront investment will be needed for many projects, so it must be clear to understand appetite for change and companies' expected payback periods. You could urge employees to wear thicker jumpers and turn off the heating, but they might have an issue with that. We experienced energy managers that have spent time on researching lighting solutions only to be told by retail that lower lux solutions would be unacceptable as it would not present products in the best light on the shop floor. Manufacturing industries cannot turn furnace temperatures down if the manufacturing process requires a minimum temperature to create their products. The purpose of the company cannot be impacted, but you can think out of the box. What are changing operational hours to make use of reduced tariffs? Can you extend operational hours so the shoulder periods are less wasteful, especially for furnace fire-ups? When considered, is it cheaper to move to another building? Being efficient with energy, you must also be efficient with your time. Spending 80% of your time on spreadsheet analysis will not save energy. The sooner you start to save energy, the greater the cumulative savings. As much as there will always be new energy-saving technology, try and look at a problem once, decide to implement, and move on. Not visit every site every day, and when you walk away, you may feel things unravelling. So start monitoring solutions to inform you of change, rather than looking for problems that might not be there. Decide what tools you use to monitor sites, and decide what people you can use to take responsibility on your behalf. If there's something that works for one site, can you roll it out to other sites with less effort, or are you creating a unique solution for each site? Being able to make a clear business case will be key in getting stakeholder buy-in. You must understand upfront what an acceptable payback period is. That takes longer than you can either dismiss or expect to struggle to get implemented. Determine all stakeholders. Energy treads on many feet, including environmental, legal, facilities, as well as finance. Not be able to create a good business case if you cannot articulate clearly what your current costs are, and you will need to be clear what the future benefits will be. How you prove your business case is correct. Monitoring post-project performance will be key to determining the project's success as well as your own. So how work exhausted you? Take the energy for consumption and cost reduction. The key to success will be the buy-in of the many people who are impacted. With energy, is that we all know the planet would be better, our companies would be more profitable, and wallets thicker, but don't change. We have more pressing issues to worry about. So while we're warm, our monitors are lit up, and our computers are helping deliver our work objectives, we have time for energy savings. So as energy manager, we need to motivate people people and change their habits. In on any personal development courses or into pop psychology, you may have come across the 4 stages of competence in forming new habits. We have bad habits of leaving the lights on, we become conscious of leaving the lights on, and we consciously change our habits to turning the lights off. Eventually, we don't know we're turning the lights off. The trouble is, we don't have the motivation to change our habits. It was before formed, but it was easier and more satisfying to do it the bad habit way. Studies have created a new branch of science called consumer neuroscience. Apps tell us why we do things, even if consciously we think it's for another reason. And is the key. We need a trigger to be conscious of doing something. We need to recognise consciously or unconsciously how we behave in order to amend it, and we need to get an emotional reward. Commonly, this is used in advertising to either create fear in getting health insurance, otherwise that fear might happen to us, or an aftershave, so I too can be handsome, famous and adored like David Beckham. So if that's how our brains work, how do we build that into energy management? In 2005, a study in the California University performed an experiment on a local neighbourhood. They put a sign on people's doors that said one of 4 messages. Turn on your air conditioning and turn on your fans, and you can save $54 a month. A suggestion was saving the planet. Another was being a good citizen and helping prevent blackouts. All 12 messages had no effect on energy reduction. One message did create a marked reduction in energy. It said, when surveyed, 77% of your neighbours turned off their air conditioning and switched their fans. Please do the same. It appears that if inconvenient, we do not change. But what makes us act is social pressure. They've been conscious of their own habit and received a negative emotion of social unacceptance. A study showed adding a smiley face and a message to those lower than average consumption and a sad face and message to those with higher than average consumption showed people continue with good behaviour or amended bad behaviour in the context of social norms compared to messages with no face. Have we learnt? We need factual information to make informed decisions. But for our engaging stakeholders, you need them to be engaged in the process. Make people responsible as a start, but engaging at a personal, emotional level, detailing performance in the context of their fellow employees and their own objectives is key. This can be achieved in the business world by using ranking tables, good and bad achievements with affirmative messages or incentive schemes, to company strategy and messages, and with their company and personal objectives. Would you respond more to a message that said, we'll need to sell 4 more gym memberships this month just to cover energy wastage of leaving the lights on? This month's consumption is 23% greater than 430 kilowatts of hours of electricity used last month. In the section, I will show you some of the features of EDV 2.0 and how it can support the 10 steps to achieving energy savings, as well as motivating you, your stakeholders, and the employees you share your environment with.
We are going to share Michelle's desktop to demonstrate EDV2.
Is a secure online web application used by users to manage their energy usage and used by service providers to deliver energy services. The system is via IMServe's website, but the login page and application can be branded to allow direct access to service provider websites. On the creation of a new account, users will be sent an email with a link to the site, login details, and a Get Started guide. The customer will be set up with an administrator login and can add additional users to the account. The administrator has full access to amend the rights of other users, but users can self-administer access to the system by updating their own passwords and getting hints if they forget. EV has various help features from visual impairment aids to online guides. Users can narrow their search by drilling down to key features in the system. They can view FAQs, which are updated as users' feedback experience, or access online training videos. The Bureau team can also offer on-site training for larger groups. The admin section is where accounts are managed, or where end users' give account details can be viewed. Everything from key contracts, details of account activation duration, and when and if accounts are due to terminate, modules that are activated on the account, link to the account, as well as setting password resetting if in a given company's security process is required. We have lots of users that can access the system. The administrator has full access and can modify other user status. Users have right access but can be restricted in what functionality they have and what sections of the portfolio they see. As standard users have reading access and again can be limited. This allows different stakeholders to have access to the energy data while allowing the energy managers to maintain control of the master data. The My Profile section allows certain favourites to be set. As well as contact details, the user can set default landing pages, search preferences, and site formatting. Let's imagine that you are a global retail company that wishes to manage energy consumption. You'll open your European branches in the first phase and starting to set up your EDV portfolio. Next, the company's name in the portfolio section, in the top left-hand corner, a small document icon where you have uploaded your energy strategy to remind you of your focus. As well as logically structuring your business, you have set up a group who will file all new initiatives prior to rolling out to all our sites. Within here, you can create fixed list groups, dynamic groups, where a condition can be used. For example, a group can be a fixed list of sites or all sites where a number of employees are greater than 100. You've got many different levels within EDV. Country, storing country-specific details, brands and regions, and load down to sites is a directory level as it has a physical location, and then load down to sites and zones for campus locations. Finally, data feeds, or a full channel of data. At this point, you can store any type of utility or any related data that will support your energy reduction, such as temperature feeds, optional data, and profiles. Level, supporting data can be stored. So, for example, at a site, your employee numbers, floor areas for reporting purposes, and optional bands, and how time is split across the day. You also have the ability to set targets. It can be at the consumption level or converted into carbon and cost targets. Determine what time period that target is applicable. This allows flexibility in reporting how, for example, monthly targets to be achieved, even if daily targets are breached. At the level, you can start to see the variety of data that can be stored. Utility consumption or support utility data, such as electricity, gas, oil, that utility measured in different quantities, for example, kilowatt hours, litres, cubic metres, sourced by either IMSERV through their data collection service, loaded directly by the customer from other sources. Interval frequency. It doesn't have to be interval data. It can be register data or event data, such as on and off lighting controls. This granularity is not only different data sources to be combined under a common factor, but opens up all the data that can be stored in EDB, regardless of the exporting source. In addition, it allows EDB to become an asset management tool to your monitoring and control assets. So how is reading data into the system? IMSERV can collect data on your behalf, in which case the data is automatically available in the application. Alternatively, users can manually load reads for small sites where MR is not feasible. So the example we have here, a user is setting the read flag as manual because they are doing it through the online and in the date and timestamps, as well as the reading value that's associated to the data feed. Upload reading files can be through spreadsheet templates, again for either interval, register or event data. This is useful for ad hoc large data loads or historic loading. The file is selected. You can upload the file and see the results of a successful file load. If for some reason the file is not of a suitable format, then a log will be created. So we'll just show you the load of the file with errors. If unsuccessful, you can see how much of the file has loaded and view the file details. So the file has loaded successfully. We can see that some is inserted have not been in the correct format. So looking at the log file, we can see that flag has been entered as T, whereas it should have been either A, E, or M. Again, IMSERV's Bureau team can help with this service. Or if you have a large bespoke volume file that requires loading on a frequent basis, IMSERV's development team can look to create bespoke loaders. Alternatively, you could your recurring data files via the FTP solution. This is an automatic process that will effectively either collect or receive files on a repeating basis according to the frequency determined by yourself. So, reading data. A small site can load supported data directly into the application and position sites within the hierarchy as shown in the portfolio section. Bulk processing tools allow large volumes of standing data or portfolio hierarchies to be loaded or exported from the system for management of large sites. We talked in the presentation of the benefits of creating profiles that outline a unique site's optimum view once wastage has been removed. B allows numerous types of profiles to be set that allow different profiles for different utilities in intervals and periods. Profiles can be uploaded using amended past consumption patterns or tweaked and viewed graphically online within the application. Although they tend to be unique for a site, a common profile can be allocated to multiple sites. So that's in the system. What about making the data useful by reporting out? This online graphing tool allows ad hoc viewing of data and drill down. Depending on what level of the portfolio you select, or a given group, the input options will be filtered to display only given measure types and output options. Where version can apply, data will be converted, allowing, for example, metric and imperial gas volumes to be aggregated and displayed into converted kilowatt-hours consumption, or converted to cost and carbon if the option has been activated. We also have version control data, which for UK electricity sites in particular, where estimated data can be overwritten at a later point with actual data for a given date stamp. Data will be viewed at a point in time if validating previous consumption is required. Where a level in the portfolio is reported on, data will be displayed as an aggregated total. The user can then amend date ranges. It can view summary data, dealer information. Data can be drilled down to the next level within the portfolio, view each of the components that make up the lower levels, and help peaks and anomalies. So within a zone, and you can see two data feeds are making up a table of data. Go back and we down to the lowest level, in case electricity import data, and the file again only displays the reading data. This data can be exported if required. The reports come in the form of the energy management templates. These templates display and aggregate data in a more easy to understand format. They are called templates, but they do not have fixed parameters, and so many can display anything from monthly electricity for a site to annual gas for a brand, depending on the selected criteria. Many reports, even if they use other supporting data, do not necessarily require standing data investment. If you want to upload your tariffs in detail, nominal values will always allow a good indication of cost based on consumption. Any templates are published reports, so although you can view and manipulate online, you can also export in a variety of formats for publishing elsewhere. For example, here you can see multi-electricity report can be converted into a single type utility report, changing some of the measurement types. So as stated, one template can produce many reports. Full screen, the report if you wish to view the graph in detail, and you use other tools to move around the report. A few more reports. Select a calendar view report. It will display data in a calendar format, as well as presenting the data on its operational bands. So in this case, we'll select a 3-tier banding. have out a tolerance report. This presentation is showing some of the direct messaging you can do to trigger positive messaging and relating to business objectives. Templates and parameter settings can be stored as your own template for repeat use. The system, a library of templates can be best. And reports can be scheduled to run on a recurring basis. Your store managers to receive the "How well are you doing?" on a report on a monthly basis. The scheduling tool can be set up to automatically email that store manager or many store managers with a report without needing for them to access the system or for the manager to run the report on their behalf. Multiple recipients can be added if, for example, a report is created, and you can distribute by FTP if you wish to link to internet publishing, or to automatically load raw data into another application. Added league reports are actually normalised at sites to see how they are doing against their neighbour sites and to reduce social pressure to be better than average. Flexibility allows automation to occur much more easily. Finally, you can export the data to the online EDB library if you require. Will allow ongoing monitoring to occur. Decide you can leave your sites alone in monitoring mode and when you might need to react. It has a number of alerting features, of which we'll go through a few. So you wanted to monitor your oil tanks. You understand when a number of situations will occur. If a fail happens, there will be a sudden rise in volume, more just heat expansion. And you have two ways to monitor. If you a heating use profile, any deviation from this profile could indicate a refill. If it occurs, you want to be emailed, or text if you need to sign the delivery note, for example. In real time or scheduled to occur on a more frequent basis. Or you can play a rate change alert that can also be used for refill notifications. That rate change doesn't go up in the case of a refill, it actually goes down, a sudden decrease, more than just consuming the oil, that might indicate theft. instance, we had a percentage decrease rapidly occurring, for example, within a 30-minute period. Alert can be set up. It can also be used for missing data and other more generic Apple profile settings. Alert reports can be stored online for viewing by any of the authorized users. In addition, documents such as the energy strategy can be edited and stored. Documents have the option of being linked to a portfolio item visible as an icon in the portfolio tree, allowing users with restricted access to related information, restricted documents. Useful for energy managers or key stakeholders, but what about the rest of the employees? Each has the ability to configure dashboard slides for display on monitors, invoices, canteens and showrooms. The configuration tool allows you to format background wallpaper as well as create campaign posters which you can combine into the dashboard presentation. Once a site is created, the same base format can be used for all other sites. We use a number of graphical elements that can be added to the graph, as well as simple text fields. That slide created, to make it different for each of the individual slides, what we want to change is the reference to that relevant site and linking the appropriate portfolio data to the right dashboard in order to configure the display data. This through the slide. You select the grafting tool, of the portfolio you wish to report on. Some of the output components shown here are in development, but once each of the slides are combined, you can begin to deliver your campaign message action along with your energy dashboard. Have your slides, you can then create your dashboard. So where the PowerPoint has many slides that can be automatically animated to move from one slide to another within a time period, so can the dashboard. So you set up your company objective, a plan, and then link it to your energy dashboard. Dashboard would then run in full screen mode for you to display in your foyer, for example. And the board will look continuously until that application is exited. So just dashboards can be branded and marketed, so too can the application. For those users or service providers who want the application to look less iron serve green, this can be configured so it can be allocated to different brand templates. created a mock-up of the fan clothing group. So to cover some final elements of EDB, we would talk about business cases and payback. The project analysis section allows you to create projects and store pre- and post-project details, such as investment cost, ongoing maintenance cost. Initiating a project start date consumption costs can be compared to post-project consumption costs, along with changing costs to determine payback. A number of reports are available from the profile comparison. So, for example, lighting and heating control projections in action, potential or non-savings that project has occurred, multi-weekly progress to show program performance and key high and low performing individual sites. We also have what-if reports that allow, for example, tariff changes to be compared against current tariffs and concern this changing would really deliver savings and how great those savings could be. Weather analysis using data, weather temperature to determine whether impact on energy consumption uses statistical tools of time and regression analysis, and some payback reports that detail current return on investment calculations. The tool to store key and store your non-working days, so reporting into account operational days as well as operational hours. That section, which is where tariffs are stored and where billing or cost center billing reports can be created to allow business areas to be responsible for their specific energy usage. Finally, to ensure all your questions are answered, you can look to initiate our query service. It allows not only queries on data to be made between your different companies, but also between the customer and the service provider. Finally, we have messages, allowing serve to publish messages to you regarding key events and information. All queries, messages and report schedules are indicated using visible icons on the toolbar next to the Show Help. I hope you found the presentation and demonstration useful. I think I might have overrun slightly, but I'll pass over to Natalie now to answer questions.
Okay, thanks very much for the questions that have come in. The ones that we'll take, the first one through was, can I provide help with setting up the portfolio?
Yes, as I mentioned in the demonstration, IMServe has a variety of bureau services that can be called upon. As much as the application is self-serve, then yes, from reporting, report management, data loading, our bureau team can support with that.
Brilliant. And another one, can IMServe help with loading data? I think we've had that 3 times.
Right, yes. Yes, so just as I said, again, the end user has everything from manual loading, spreadsheet loading, as well as an automated FTP solution. And again, that's in the format defined online. But if you have specific formats that you wish for us to load directly, then then again, our in-house development team can potentially support the loading of bespoke files.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Next one, what is the typical savings per site?
Well, that's a very much how long is a piece of string questions. I mean, going back to what we were talking about with profiles, I mean, if you can create that kind of what your perfect profile is and compare it against your consumption, the difference should start to give you an indication. Obviously, it's not always easy to achieve that perfect profile, but once you know the data, at least you would be able to understand your potential opportunities. And with IMServe's control solutions, we've seen everything from 10 to 30% as the norm, and even greater on the odd site, but I wouldn't necessarily expect that to be common for every site. I think we've got quite a few case studies online that I guess people could go and have a look at if they wanted to.
Definitely. There's a final question that we'll take. Could you restrict a regional manager to only see the sites he is actually responsible for?
Yes, absolutely. Again, if you didn't want to give the regional manager access to EDV at all, then, as we talked about, they can just schedule reports on a regular basis to open their email, into their email. But as a master user or even a standard user, if you didn't want them to amend the data, you can set up ED, so only that regional manager's site or sites would be visible, and no other data, and that can all be done through the administration. Okay,
I think that's all the time we've got for questions today, but we'll be back to everybody afterwards. But just one through, Michelle, that one.
Yeah, just reading.
Can you show us how a single site energy manager can compare 1 week's consumption against a previous week's to see where there are differences and how to identify potential opportunities for savings?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we've got a number of comparison reports, but effectively you would choose the same site but different time periods in the comparison report. And again, because the comparison times are relative, you could set up a schedule to effectively tell you that information every week, i.e. what was last week's data looking like compared to the previous weeks. So that's absolutely possible, and I'll be happy to send you an example.
Brilliant, thank you. I think that's actually all the questions that we'll take today. So if you are interested in reading any more about EV or any other products from IMServe, please visit imserve.com, or if you like any further information, feel free to email us direct at marketing@imserve.com. If you go onto the Resource Centre, you'll find all our post-webinar podcasts, and our next ones coming up will all be listed, and a wealth of case studies, etc., and white papers are all on there. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you for watching, everybody.